I told you I guess my predictions in the previous draft when we saw Kestrel being banned and we saw that Vox was picked up. I said, this leaves Baron open, and we're in that situation once again where Baron is open. They've gone for the Baptiste, how I should be saying it, ban, and that's all and well, but it's definitely played into the favor of ASN once again. ASN now being on your blue side and Elite 8 on your red side. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go for that Baron. But if they do, what is it that Elite 8 have to do?
Well, of course, without a doubt, Elite 8 should go for that Idris, which was open in the previous game as well. But it wasn't picked up at all. Vox was favored over Idris, which I've got no idea why, because it's going to be a preemptive pick. If you are going to pick up an Idris, you're going to expect a Baron, especially when you're not going to pick up a Baron. Anyways, we do see coming into this draft, Baptiste, the Vox is being banned out, and of course, Lara being picked up for the side of ASN Esports. Lara being really strong. Even if you do pick up Grace just to counter Lara's heal, Lara has got so much early game burst still, and it's a team-wide burst still in the early game, and there is nothing Grace have on her, and especially when Grace going to go in with that benediction, and then there's bright bulwark. Lara kind of stops a lot of heroes on the foe, so I think it's a really good pickup for the side of ASN. So honestly, so we do see a Glaive being picked up. Probably the side of Elite 8 is hoping or is predicting an Idris being picked up for the side of ASN Esports, and that's why the Glaive being picked out for Official High, not even Anime Save Me. I mean, Glaive is in a really good place in the meta right now. Glaive counters a lot of other heroes that are meta, like that of Idris, even Baron, Vox, but then we cannot forget the fact that Lara is there to just stop all of your afterburns from coming in. I'm not surprised if the side of ASN Esports do ban out that Catherine just to not allow because Catherine works so well against Lara, although Catherine will be highly not likely to be banned out there. So we do see the Mages being priority. We do see the Baptiste being banned out, the Samuel, and of course the Celeste at the end of the day. However, the side of Elite 8 can still go for their Scarf, who is a rather strong pickup, especially with the Glaive, the Chem Peel for the Scarf. We do see a Baron being picked up, so hopefully the side of ASN Esports would pick up that Idris, which is still open. If not, then Ringo. Ringo does really well against a Baron if you can match him stat for stat. As a weapon Ringo, not a CP Ringo, so if you can match a Baron stat for stat as a Ringo, you're going to do very well. And of course, without any doubt at all, they are just going to jump on that Idris. They are going to shimmer strike for the Idris. Get it?
Yeah, and I was looking here at how they're going to respond to Baron, and especially with my initial thinking was as long as they had some good CC to take care of him, although that becomes a slight problem once Baron does overdrive his jump jets and escape a lot of that CC. And that's the main reason you don't usually need that reflex or Aegis on Baron, and you can rely on your jump jets if you get it off that once in a team fight when it's needed, or once to escape. But I believe it looks like the side of ASN have run through their bonus time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but they are going to restart. I think they are facing some.
It's going to be restarted. There's going to be ban onto Samuel, followed up by Vox.
No, so there's a Baptiste followed up by a Vox.
Baptiste is what I meant. He looks like they both are dark and creepy guys. So. Well, there's going to be the Lyra pick up a Glaive ban on Samuel there.
Yeah, but then the problem with picking an Idris, and I'm kind of liking the draft coming out from the side of Elite 8. It's because they are predicting, and Glaive is just a preemptive pickup going up against an Idris. Glaive, a very valuable flex pick as well in the current meta. You can go utility, you can go roam, you can even go weapon. And with double weapon comms coming out in the meta, I'm not surprised if Glaive do go for the double weapon comm, but it's highly unlikely for the likes of SEA, Southeast Asia, just to counter that Idris. So I really like the Glaive pickup on the side of Elite 8, just predicting that Idris that's going to be picked up for the side of ASN Esports just to counter that Baron. So I hope we do see a Crystal Castro or even a Koshka coming out for the side of ASN, or if not, then an on-hit Grace would work very well as well.
So what you want from ASN is you want them to go a real heavy dive comp to counter the dive coming out from the side of Elite 8 with that Baron.
Mm-hmm.
Which, we saw that kind of turn around in a similar fashion when Vox was able to turn around the dive, where, and that is what you pointed out, a weakness of Baron. Once he dives in, he has to commit. If he turns around, he's kind of, dead.
Screwed, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess Koshka in this situation, or on-hit Grace, which would be amazing to see, could work out really well for them. But they're going to go with a Grumpjaw, which is another good hero for going in with those engagers. You have the slow there, as well as Grumpjaw, if it's going to be, I imagine in this case, just because they have the Idris on the team, that is going to be the CP Grumpjaw as opposed to weapon power. But I know both can be more so weapon power, be very annoying in the early game and quite strong because he has that tankiness. I'm not sure as to how much effectiveness that has on pistol power. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, I mean, for double weapon comps, there has been a rise. We do see it coming out in a lot of other regions but Southeast Asia, because Tangent Bow and Bonesaw, they are in a very good place in the current meta. So if you do go for a double weapon comp, it is possible, and it's not even just possible, it is really very strong. So we do see an alpha being picked up, although for the side of ASN, although I said I wanted Koshka, just so because I have the Southeast Asia mentality, you want a weapon, you want a crystal, but I was hoping for an Ozo as well, because Ozo just does so well against Baron. But of course, we cannot forget the fact that Glaive is always there. And I think it'll be anime safe me on that Glaive to just peel for that Baron. And it'll be very strong in the early game, especially when Glaive has got such good gank potential in the early game, when he can just come up the lane after burning, knock Idris into turret range. If not, then knock Idris just to set up for Alpha, if not then Baron for the later part of the game. But what I'm saying, the Grumpjaw might actually just go for the tension bow into Double Tyrant's Monaco. If not, then if the Grumpjaw is feeling a little, I don't know, a little more adventurous per se, or innovative, could go for the on-hit Grumpjaw with the tension bow aftershock. But I don't think that is really a good build. I personally think heavy armory on Grumpjaw will be so much better. Heavy artillery on Grumpjaw is so much better with the tension bow into Diamond Tyrant's Monaco. And of course, we cannot forget that the side of ASN Esports, they have this superior sustain as compared to the side of Elite 8. As long as ASN Esports can play well in this game, execute their early game, because they have a much better early game as compared to the side of Elite 8, and that is one thing that's going for them. Of course, we have the Alpha in the late game. Alpha has got this weird power spike. In the early game, if played well, she's kind of fine into a lot of heroes. But then in the mid game, she does especially well against a lot of heroes. And then comes the late game when everyone has got their reflex blocks up, when everyone has got enough damage that can burst Alpha down, and Alpha kind of just become a sitting doll, kind of like Annabelle, just being in a showcase. Yeah, so you know, it's just down to how well they can work through their power spikes throughout the game. From the early game when Glaive is really strong with an afterburn, into the mid game when Alpha is really good, and then mid game is when Baron picks up that Sorrow Blade and the Tension Bow, and that's when Baron has got the first initial power spike. But then, of course, the side of ASN, they've got different power spikes as well. Lyra is really good until she's level 8. Level 12, even level 12, Lyra has got increased range, really good sustain on her Imperial Sigil at level 8. And of course, Idris, who is so mobile, so difficult for Baron to catch out, even Alpha to catch out. And of course, you have the front liner. Chingy will definitely be on this Grumpjaw, picking out double weapon blade and just going in for the jungle invades really, really early. So, you know, they have different power spikes as well, both of these teams. But then honestly, looking at how they executed their team comps in the previous game, I personally think that Elite 8 might have this game because of how uncontrolled the snowball is. How uncontrolled the snowball is earlier on in the first match for the side of ASN Esports. Okay, so I am back to solo casting it right now. So we are back into the foes. We are jumping into the foes, and like I requested, Duo said, ASN Esports is the blue side, and of course, Elite 8 Esports is on the red side. We are going to see a Rome Glaive, we are going to see a Captain Glaive, and of course, Teza Boy would be on that Lara as well. And as expected, Chingy will be going for the double weapon blade, hopefully for really good, for very early engagement or invades as well. So honestly, just coming to this match, I personally think that the side of Elite 8 just has got a stronger early game, and in fact, they scale so much better into the late game as well. Oh, Teza Boy and Anime saved me. It is the fight of the captains right now, but Anime saved me. He's taken down to 3/4 health, and Teza Boy is going in for the early engage against Official High, and hopefully they can steal that back cams. Hopefully, I request a duo would be coming back soon. He's just sorting out some technical
difficulties, as always. Just
back.
a bit of rough audio, but in terms of this match so far, doesn't look like so much of a rough start, but could be for Official Hein in just a second as you jump in on there with the slow, and you just realize the power that this Grumpjaw has early game, and with the Lyra there to support them as well with the Imperial Sigil is going to be just immense for the side of really pushing them out their own jungle and playing dominance here. See Aeon also trying to join in on the fight as Tezzaboy is going to be the one getting caught out, goes in alone and not able to actually find the help of Aeon. Aeon's just going to keep farming, and that's going to be the first kill going over to the side of Elite 8. So now Aeon needs to be careful. Anime Save Me is in the bush. They had that up, but now they're going to use it straight away. That's going to be the Porcupine Mortars coming down, but they're going to miss. Perhaps if they hit, it might be enough to get a second kill over onto Aeon. He's going to fight the safety of his turret and Tezzaboy, who has that Imperial Sigil ready and waiting. So yeah, looking into this, you did talk about the kind of wed stage that Alpha is going to be in at some point into the late game. But do you think they're going to have a tough time in this early game up against Grumpjaw as well?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, we did see Chingy trying to go for the early game, but did not quite get anything out of it. And Chingy is just back to playing passive. We do see Alpha. Alpha has got really good gank potential with the Prime Directive as well. So honestly, the side of Elite 8 just looks so much stronger in the current set, in this current game. Of course, we do see some TP taunts coming up for both teams, just all for friendly measure. And even then, Grumpjaw, when he goes in with his A, there is really no follow-up as well, because both Taz Boy and Aeon just lacks damage in the early game, especially when Aeon is just sitting on a Book of Eulogies and of course an armor just to go up against Han Jaeger just for the extra sustain. And Anime Save Me on this glaive is a different story, however. He's got the damage early game. He has got, you know, the gank potential in the early game. And of course, with the Alpha, after picking up that Aftershock, he's just so much stronger as compared to Chingy. Alpha can just stay and output so much burst damage onto Grumpjaw as well. And so honestly, like I said earlier on, when just looking at the team comps alone and seeing execution wise, I think Elite 8 has got this as compared to the side of ASN. Unless, of course, ASN can play to their strength at this point in time. Just wait for Aeon to unlock the Divergent Path. And then, of course, Chingy for the Tension Bow. Ooh, we do see Alpha coming up the lane, trying to gank lane. The lane is being pushed up by the side of Elite 8 as well.
Yeah, which is expected with having that Baron there, who's just such a good sieger. And Chingy, once they get this Tension Bow, I think will be a bit more of a threat. And, you know, Alpha needs to be careful about they haven't built any armor towards them. They've actually gone for the shield because we're seeing that CP address coming out, which is actually a good choice there to respect that and build the shield. if anyone's going to be in trouble, Baron will be if he ever gets in range of that Chakram, because if you get hit by the outgoing and returning Chakram, there's quite a lot of damage with CP once you build up that Shatter Glass first. But Aeon might also go for Frostburn to just be a bit more, have a bit more synergy with his team for the flows along with Lyra and Grumpjaw.
Nah, I think Aeon will be going for that Shatter Glass as first item, and then maybe a Broken Myth into an alternating current. That is the more expensive build, but then that is a build that is going to give you the highest form of burst damage with your Chakram, like you said. And we do see the Divergent Path, Ultimate unlocked, and of course picking up that Shatter Glass.
And looking for a fight. There's the Chakram going out, and it's going to be Chingy to actually use Stuffed onto Glaive. And that just gets him out of the way with the Afterburn, but they're going to get turned around on it. Even using the Fountain is not going to be enough. Aeon might go down here. Officialheim does have the passive to get out, but doesn't have the ultimate to go in with the damage. Anime Save Me just staying around for this Afterburn. Another 5 seconds, but they really want to get something out of that. You can see Aeon able to heal up thanks to the Imperial Sigil. Wow. But overall, by losing a kill over to the side of Elite 8 on a team fight that they engaged, and I think it just came down to Chink targeting with that stuff. You do want to get the Glaive out there so you can engage clean, but it just got turned around as soon as Glaive was out of stuff and able to turn around with the Afterburn that hadn't been used.
Well, yeah, definitely. But there is one thing. Like I said, 6 minutes in, Alpha has picked up that Aftershock, and we do see the amount of damage coming out from Alpha as compared to Chingy. There is almost none coming out from Chingy, although Chingy has got attention, but Chingy may be looking to go in, but they are just going to back off. I mean, Anime Save Me at the end of the day is still a threat. Oh, Anime Save Me is taken down to 3/4 health, but then I don't think a fight would be happening. Oh, I take that back.
Yeah, as we now see the stuff going on to Glaive, and Hunjager's going so low there, they can find a single kill. Can't they? No, they're not able to, as ASN denied the kills, and there's going to be the minion buff candies. Of the minion buff candies?
Minion candy? The buff.
Minion.
They
defend this turret here, and they're able to save it off the side of ASN, but ASN instead going to turn their attention towards that goldmine, picking up 200. It's not as good as the turret, but you know, I'm surprised that ASN weren't able to find a single there. I'm lucky for the side of Elite they would back out of that one without any casualties, in fairly close. And that fight looked a lot more in ASN's favor, so you can see the crystal power starting to ramp up on Aeon. They're giving a bit of farm to him, trying to get this hyper carry going, because I guess in terms of Grumpjaw needing the itemization, it really is once you have that tension bow, then you just need some defense, whereas they want Aeon to get ahead with that damage, try and match out the Baron, who's on the back line right now, and leaving up to the rest of his tank it up. Anime Save Me gonna go in with the Afterburn. It's gonna get a few hits off from the turret, but Aeon with the amazing Shroud Step able to get onto target and out of there for a second of invulnerability. Now just going to step back from this one. You can see Boy now low on energy, but still wanting to fight. I think they feel they have the advantage, as you see the massive damage coming out from Aeon, and this is what I talked about with the Chakram. If you're caught at the very end of it and you take the outgoing and returning Chakram damage on, get wrecked. And that's why I love playing CP.
Yeah, I mean, CP Idris, his kid, it counts a lot and relies so much on that Chakram, especially the incoming and outgoing effects of Chakram as well. We do see, though, Aeon will be settling for that alternating current as second damage item instead of the Broken Myth, which I personally prefer, although it is a lot more expensive, and of course you don't have the attack speed. But honestly, Idris' starter steps, or rather his attack animation, is just so smooth. I don't think it's really required for you to have a tier 3 speed item at this point in time. Ooh, they are going in.
Looks like the side of ASN is going to go in with that Arcane Passage. Alpha's there for the response, and there's going to be the Afterburn onto Ching. Try to get him out there alive as Boy there with a renewal and the Imperial Sigil, but Officialheim going to follow up with that. Does manage to land the damage with that ultimate, but not able to find the kill onto Chingy. Meanwhile, they left Aeon alone with that Baron, and Aeon so strong at this point. You can see the damage coming out, especially with that said alternating current going to help out just with those basic stacks. It's not as good as having the broken mid-second, which is verbal, but in that case, you already have the Blazing Salvo and is it up anyway. Them putting the damage down onto the start. They might be able to pick up Chingy here, however, they don't die for it because, you know, it'd probably be a kill Aeon unchecked. And the thing about this Crystal Power Idris is it's easily countered by Aegis, a bit of shield, at least in the early game. But because you're playing Baron and Baron has that mentality to not go defense, it's a very easy target, and that's why I think is a good pickup for the side of ASN to have gone that Idris.
And there is,
you know, knowing that the Baron was going to be.
Yeah, and there is one thing that's going for ASN as well, and that is Han Diego. Basically, going up against a Baron, you would try to the bestest of your abilities to force Baron to pick up really early game Crucible or even Reflex Block, and that is that's going on with Baron right now.
Chingy going in with this stuff, managed to stuff Blade once again, so it seems to be the target of choice at the moment. Anime Save Me just going to push Aeon away for a second. It's not going to do too much. As you see Official Hein being the first one to go low, it looks like Aeon will have the damage to burn them down, but will Baron jump onto them in response? They don't commit to it completely. There's the renewal coming up from the side of ASN, just barely saving them, and Elite 8 now going to be pushing in for their second attack, making their way onto this turret. There's the renewal. A lot of damage coming out from the side of Elite 8, but ASN, especially Aeon there with that nice Shroud Step to get out of that one and go invulnerable for a second. Will Chingy be able to clean up the kills? He has 5 seconds until Alpha's up. If he can get this, it will be an ace and provide them a good way to move on to this turret. They're not able to. Save Me gets out there with one hit, so does Chingy effectively. See these teams really being quite even this match, even though in objective wise ASN have gone for it all. They've just gone more out of their kills, whereas Elite 8 do have the damage to respond to it. It's just gonna depend on what they're able to once they get that team fight that they're looking for.
Yeah, personally I think Official Hein on this alpha should just go for more damage instead of prioritizing that Atlas Pauldron first. And as for Han Diego, just watch your positioning so you do not have to build up that early reflex block as well. Because honestly, if you're gonna pick up a reflex block this early into game, I mean, we are seeing the reflex block coming out in the 10th minute, at the 10th minute. So that is a little too early for a Baron to be picking up defenses. I mean, if you are going to go for a 1v1 against Aeon, I don't think that is possible at all, because just for the fact that he's an Idris, and on paper, Idris is just so much stronger as compared to a Baron, a weapon, or Crystal. They are going to go for the gold mine right now, and it will not be stolen. That was so anticlimactic.
It was close, however. And Elite 8 really trying to do whatever they can at this point to get objectives in return. You can see the goal difference, it's very close. 26 on the side of Elite 8, 28.1 on the side of ASN. They want that turret badly, but it's going to be Tezabor going in there with the Arcane Passage, putting down the Bright Bulwark, stop the escape for just a second. Chingy going to go in with the stuff, swallows up Official Hein, and they're going to put them in the back line for Aeon to deal with. And Official Hein getting so low, they want to force out that passive from the side of Elite 8, but they're going to go for the Baron instead, who stayed around just too long. Didn't have the jump jets up as Chingy was able to get the kill. And Aeon now going to be able to take that turret. And that's where I predicted that. I said Aeon's name even though it wasn't technically him. I guess he had the most damage in his life.
Well, I mean, he has got the highest burst and highest basic attack damage as well because of his divergent path. And just looking at so much heavy crystal built on Aeon, I'm not surprised he is the highest damaging hero at this point in time. Of course, not before when Chingy built up his second Tyrant's Monaco at least. For the side of Aeon, I think he should prioritize a reflex block at this time, probably sell that light armor, hopefully goes for an Eve of Harvest or even a Frostburn, just to synergize better with his team's kit, like you said. That is what I want to see, because honestly, Aeon's been playing well so far. His positioning wise, whenever he's caught out, he will shimmer strike, he will disallow, he will
Strike. I've been
disengage.
calling it Shroud Set. My bad. I always get the two mixed up.
So he has been positioning well. So I think he can afford a little more damage on his kit, like that of Frostburn, like you said, just to synergize better. And then he is probably going to go for that Frostburn.
You see him picking up some armor as well, and I think in this case he's relying on Boy to have that Crucible there. There's vision on this one by the side of Elite 8, so they might go for the seal. You see Anime Save Me is ready, but he's gonna go and gets caught out as well, because that my bad, that
Ion Cannon
right now. No, that Afterburn not being up quite well, which is interesting. Usually you'd like to see a bit more utility being used for when you're going Roam Glaive. That really is the aspect having that Afterburn, because it's such a strong tool. He is going to use the Atlas onto Idris, however, but I think that is maybe the wrong target. Chingy might have gone AFK there. Is looking like they're lagging out, however, on my screen. It's going to be behind, trying to follow up onto that Idris. Chingy taking a lot of damage, but is going to manage to find Anime Save Me so low, but managed to hunt back and stop them from the ace. Both teams going very low there, and you can see what I talked about earlier about Elite 8 does have the damage. They just need to find the right team fight. However, ASN, they played it before with the Baron, a dive comp. They're doing it again, just a different formula by having Grumpjaw, who's that tank up the damage alongside with the Lyra, which Lyra, you know just how well she works with these dive comps. And then, of course, the Idris, who's able to put up this massive damage and just has done such a great job with that Shimmer Strike. Get targets in pulled out, and I think that's why it's working out for Aeon, and Aeon doesn't have that reflex block.
Oh, I think Chingy might be experiencing some lag issues.
Okay, so Chingy was lagging a bit, and we have gone into a pause. So just to explain to all you lovely viewers at home what our pauses are, is 2 minutes per team. So that's a total of 4 minutes per, and that's for each match we have. So this is due to what we believe is a technical with the side of ASN, and just used whenever players may disconnect or have connectivity issues. We want this to be a fair and even match. So hopefully by the time we come back, they've got it all sorted out. And it would be a shame to see was such a close match right now. It would be argued that ASN do have the advantage, and that would mean if Chingy were to go AFK, it would just be quite it'd be pretty bad for them, especially knowing that they won that first match. And if they can pull through with this one, then they don't have to go into that third matchup.
And honestly, I think at a point in time, had Chingy not AFK, the side of ASN Esports might actually have got that game. But then, lag aside, just going quickly through the builds, Chingy is going for the Tension Bow and double Tyrant's Monocle, like we said earlier on. And of course, Aeon 222 is going for the Eve of Harvest, just for that little extra sustain that he can have against Han Jaeger on this Baron. Going through Han Jaeger's build, there is one thing about Han Jaeger is that he is going for that heavy steel. And I think we've seen him play Baron before, and he does go for the double Sorrow Blade.
Yep, and we see Chingy back now, which is all good and gold. And let's see what they can pull out here. As Alpha picking up that Broken Myth now is a bit behind on the offensive items, as you mentioned before. You look over to someone like Chingy, who's got the double Tyrant and the Tension Bow, just able to put out so much right now, as opposed to the Aftershock and Broken Myth. Official Hind definitely going for that more tanky defensive Alpha build. In a sense, can work out in the team comp they have, because Baron needs to be that one with the attacking kind of capabilities. But because he was forced to pick up that reflex so early, I think that has also held him back a bit.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see how this next team fight plays out. Both teams kind of ready and waiting, and Kraken is up once again. So, or no team has done a Kraken push yet. I am wrong. So Kraken is up and waiting.
Yep, Kraken is up and waiting, and we do see Handega picking up the heavy steel. And there is one thing about Handega going for this double Sorrow Blade build. The problem is that you lack the amount of burst. Granted, you have the raw damage, but then that is easily countered as well. So I would prefer the double Tyrant's Monaco instead of, say, for the extra crit, as compared to, say, an heavy steel going. Oh, they are going in.
Well, hold that for just a second, as ASN are going to make their engage onto that Alpha as their primary target. And Anime Safety, meanwhile, getting low. No one's able to check Aeon right now. There's going to be official Hind with the Termination Protocol, and it's not going to catch out anyone as they follow up onto Anime Safety, at least is trying their best to. And I think in this situation, they might be better to try chase down that Baron, but they're just going to turn their attention to Kraken. I believe they feel that if anyone on an Elite 8 tries to challenge them, they should be able to pick up a kill. You can see ASN position themselves to the top of that push, getting ready for a possible steal, and they managed to deny it and pick up a kill onto.
I think ASN...
much in ASN's favor, right?
Yeah, but I think ASN's mentality going into the Kraken, immediately turning onto the Kraken, was because they kind of thought that Anime saved me on this glaive. Tried to steal gold mine 3 times, failed 3 times, so why not? Probably would not take Kraken as well. So there you go. That's probably the mentality. They just, or maybe I must have to agree with you. They are not afraid of the steal coming in. They are not afraid if the enemies are posturing there.
In this situation, even sending Hanyegas in could have been all right because you would have had the damage there. But look at that, the damage coming out from the Echo as well being provided for that just lockdown onto Baron. And it's going to be Anime Savvy trying to do what he can with that afterburn. Official Pine going in with the ult, trying to chase down anyone, anything. But Aeon just dancing around, work on this crit. Get it there once again. But GG, well played to ASN and Elite 8. ASN showing that they're a very versatile team and able to work with any kind of team comp there. They gave the Baron over and they still won. It shows that they were able to pick up and change